Hi, everybody. Crystal and I have been discussing sections of Berserk that we want to get into a little bit more. And the first thing we both agreed with is there's this great scene of Casca and Guts overseeing a bunch of campfires late at night. And they are discussing the dreams of the people around those campfires. And we recorded this on TikTok, but we wanted to get into it a bit more in depth because there's all those dreams. Some were pretty big in the campfires, but none of them were big like Griffith's dream is big. Griffith wants to rule the world. He wants to be the king of kings. And his dream is huge. He is absolutely focused on it. And every indication is that he's going to accomplish it. So continue with the theme of the dreams and how big dreams overwhelm smaller dreams. We have these 6 co-conspirators and the queen as a 7th who are conspiring against Griffith. They see his rise. They know what he wants. They seem to be more insightful, for example, than the king. The king just sees him as a great man, a great warrior. I'm going to elevate him to the height of my other generals. But he doesn't seem to have the same insight, say, as the queen or these 6 men. They realize the big dreamer is Griffith, and his big dream is to be bigger than their king. The most you can say about their dreams, the 6, is that they are not quite as lofty as Griffith's dreams. And if there's a battle between dreamers, the big dreamer generally wins. Griffith wants to be the king, the biggest, the greatest king of all time. But these 6 men simply wanted to continue living their dream, which was to be powerful men below the king, but who are influential with the king. They're probably rich. They're probably respected wherever they go. They get the great seats in the dining halls. They've got it made. For most people, they would say they've got it made. Griffith's dream is nothing like that. And what they don't realize is they have no chance against Griffith because Griffith is driven with a passion to accomplish this goal of becoming the king. And they just want to stay where they are. They have no chance. They have no chance. Can't defeat a big dreamer with small dreams.
The dreamers are very similar to Master Kettle.
Yes.
And he just had his dream of his farm. Mm-hmm. But then you have someone like Prince Canute, who I compare to Griffith.
Yes.
Who he has a big dream. And if your little dream gets in his way, he'll decimate you.
And he did. He showed it. He killed his own brother, Canute.
Yeah.
And Kettle, we should point out that Kettle had a dream to be this great farmer, and he was, but his life was steeped in lies. He wasn't the great warrior and all that. So when he came up against Canute, the big dreamer, he had no chance against Canute.
Which is similar to these 6 plus the queen, yes, because they're not necessarily really good people either.
No.
They just want to stay in their power position, but they don't have the ambition that someone like Canute or someone like Griffith has. That just drives them forward, and if you get in their way, then that's going to be a problem for you. Right. But if Griffith's on the rise, shouldn't they have transferred loyalties if they wanted to stay in power?
But they had no respect for his dream or him. He was a commoner to them. They were noblemen. Their nose was down. Who does this upstart think he is? His dream is nothing.
I feel like Kettle didn't want to succumb to Canute out of pride. And I feel like they didn't want to succumb to Griffith out of pride because, like you said,
he's a commoner. They would be taking orders from Griffith. And that happened to the 6 and the queen. We know what happened to them. The queen, she's interesting. She's just filled with venom and, piss and vinegar, as they say. She's just an angry woman. And if there's anyone who had the most to lose, it wasn't her. She was still the queen. These were noblemen who might be taking orders from Griffith, but the queen wasn't going to be taking orders. As we've said before, there doesn't seem to be any animosity at this point, between Griffith and the king, genuinely, the king seems to like Griffith and Griffith seems to like the king. I'll be very surprised, maybe not, if Griffith eventually strikes the king down. That could happen. He is a megalomaniac. We can't ever forget that.
That is true.
People who want to rule the world, be the king of kings, doesn't work out for them very well. You brought up the point that he maybe kind of guessed about Foss being the leader of the conspirators against him. Mm-hmm. But it was a highly educated guess, because we have to assume that Griffith has been around kings and lords for a long time and he knows how they think.
Well, and he had a conversation with Foss previously where he kind of felt him out a little bit.
Yes, he did.
So I feel like that was an indication to him, and I said this to you off camera, that if there's going to be a coup against me, this guy's going to be a part of it.
He's the one. And Foss was also suspicious that Griffith knew. We have to go back many chapters to see that dialogue that went between them. But he went away sweating bullets. Does he know? Does he know I'm the one that planned the poison arrow against him?
I think that was strike one for Griffith getting in his head. I think that for Griffith, he doesn't care how slow the game is as long as it pans out for him. And I think that was, I'm going to get this guy nervous about me.
Yeah. When you get a person nervous like that, they start making mistakes. If you think the policeman behind you saw you speeding, you slow down and you end up going 10 miles below the speed limit. And the cop goes, this guy probably was speeding. So people overcompensate.
Yeah.
And I bet from that point on, Foss overcompensated in every way, just led someone who's wise in picking up things like this, Griffith, to figure out, he's the one.
And I feel like Griffith got in his head.
Oh, yeah. He was scared to death. Remember, they did come back from this incredible victory that no one thought they'd even come back from. And they seem to have dispatched that enemy army pretty easily.
Griffith's cunning.
Yes, and Guts' sword, and Casca's cunning and sword too. Yeah.
Now, I also said this off camera to you, that I think the reason that Griffith didn't tell Casca is because he doesn't want Casca doing his dirty work. And he didn't really feel that there was a reason to tell her if she wasn't involved with the side quest that he gave Guts, because, like you said, the less people you tell, the better about something like that.
Yes, definitely when you're conspiring like this, the less people who know, the better. He also knows Casca better than anyone. And if anyone maybe would lend credibility to the idea that he's dead, he knows Casca's going to cry over him. So he hits the ground unconscious, was on the verge of death, he said. Who better to run to his side than Casca? And he knew she would. So in that sense, I guess you could argue that Casca played a role in this. And it was, of course, exactly the role that Griffith had in mind.
Yeah.
But he needed Guts. He needed Guts. Guts doesn't need anybody. Guts doesn't need anybody. Not even Casca, not even Griffith. But Griffith needs him.
Well, you made the comment about Casca and Guts and a few chapters ago when Guts was picking her up and holding her and going to bring her down to Griffith. And he said, let me bring you to your leader.
Yeah.
Not his.
Not his. That's right. Guts is a true loner. We've discussed it before that he's the lone wolf. And unlike a lone wolf in nature that wants to somehow join with a wolf clan, he doesn't have the need for it. He really doesn't. So Guts is the ultimate loner.
I think he does think of himself as bad luck, though.
Yeah, I think so too. It makes me wonder what's going to happen, because we both suspect that Guts wants to head out. But Griffith needs Guts. If he's going to become king, he needs Guts. And Griffith may think that he's got a deal worked out with Guts from years ago, where if I defeat you, you're mine. If you defeat me, bye-bye.
Yeah.
I don't think Guts is stuck to that decision.
Does Guts not have the same moral high ground dynamic as Griffith? Because if this was Thor's we're talking about, he'd be like, you won, I belong to you. I'm your soldier. Guts is like, who cares?
I'll tag along for a while.
Yeah. Word is not bond to him.
No.
But if you think about it, with the coins that Griffith, and I brought this up earlier,
Yes.
the coins that Griffith gave to we'll call them the Rat Pack,
Yeah.
of those guys who kept the little girl hostage, Foss's daughter. Guts went to go pick up the money, and Griffith said, no, they earned it. I gave them my word. It's theirs.
Yeah.
Where now that I'm thinking about it, that's very interesting, because Guts also gave Griffith his word, I'll stay with you, and he's about to break that. So for all the wrong Griffith does, he seems to think that word is bond, where he believes that Guts probably has that same mentality, where Guts doesn't seem to have that same mentality.
No, he doesn't. They're two different people. Griffith knows he has to be surrounded by people. He can't be king by himself. And Guts, he doesn't have any goals.
But do you think that that's why he doesn't stand on something? Like he doesn't have the same
Not
result.
so principled.
Yes.
He's not so principled. We meet Guts as a child, as a newborn. And we know something about his upbringing now. And we know that he got to the point, not unlike Thorfinn, where he simply battled for money.
Yeah.
A sell sword. So he's very good at it. He can go from place to place. He realizes that it's probably better to have other people around you when you're doing your fighting for money. But for the most part, he's a lone wolf. That's real different from Griffith.
Do you think that he wants to leave because he wants to be someone with principles? He wants to be someone that has something to...
No.
Why do you think he's leaving?
I think he wants to leave because he fears attachments.
I agree on a level.
And mostly it has to do with Casca.
I do think he's running away from her.
Yeah, I think so too. And what a fool. But we didn't write the story. And it is very typical that people resist going for what they really want.
Now, part of me thinks that he doesn't want to leave forever. And the reason that I say that is that he, earlier on, I don't know if you remember, he was talking with Casca at the bottom of that little thing while Griffith and the princess were having their conversation. He overheard Griffith say that someone with a dream that isn't following Griffith's dream is his equal. Someone who has the same resolve as Griffith would be his equal. And Guts, to him, seems like, I don't have that resolve. Like, I don't have a dream. And I feel like the only reason he decided to leave was that conversation, in my opinion. It's almost like Griffith is like an older brother to him that he looks up to. And he's like, I want you to acknowledge me. I want you to see me as your equal. So if I have to go out and find my own dream so that you can see me eye to eye, I'm going to go do that.
Well, I think he wants to have a relationship with Casca, but fear is overwhelming him.
Perhaps Guts feels that he's not good enough for Casca. Do you think that maybe if he leaves on this adventure and comes back and is Griffith's equal, he'll see himself as someone who's worthy for Casca?
I'm going to have to disagree with you a little bit there.
Okay.
I don't think Guts is the kind of guy who thinks that long and hard about whether he's someone's equal. He mostly figures he can defeat anybody that he comes across.
But defeat isn't the same as equal.
For a lone wolf, it is. A wolf would come to a pack, and a really powerful lone wolf would probably look at the leader of the pack and say, I can take you out, and your pack will be mine. But I don't think Guts has the desire to be a pack leader.
But you're missing the situation where the lone wolf wants a friend. Now, we're not talking animals here.
True.
We're talking
people.
Yes,
we are.
So as a lone wolf, you want someone who's your equal. It even says in the Bible to be equally yoked with someone, to be equals with another.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Griffith and Guts are going to get married.
No.
And this and that. But I do think that he has that desire to... Neither one of them has a best friend.
Both of them are their best friend, whether they know it or not.
Yes.
And the only one that Griffith thinks of as his equal is Guts.
But Guts doesn't believe he's Griffith's equal.
He doesn't have a dream as big as Griffith, it's true. But
he explicitly states in the Campfire of Dreams that compared to what Casca's dream is and Griffith's dream is, he's nothing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not as admirable as either of you. So he clearly doesn't believe he's their equal.
All right. But like I say, if we go back to the lone wolf.
You don't think he's trying to figure out who he is and if he has a dream? I feel like he spent so much of his life not having anything to look forward to.
Right.
And I think that since Guts, even though he hasn't realized it, he's found his home there. Mm-hmm. I think that he's seeking to find himself now because he has a reason, he has purpose. He has people that, you know, he wants to live for.
If he leaves, he will, for the first time in his life, have regrets.
Damn. He don't got a clue in the fucking world. Good luck.
About leaving.
Fair.
Every other place, he's either chased out, got an arrow in his chest from them or whatever. This is the first place you could say he's found a home. But again, he sabotages himself. He sabotages any possible relationship with Casca. He sabotages any kind of relationship he would have by being Griffith's number one guy. And believe me, if something happened to Griffith, he probably would just naturally take over.
Agreed.
Yeah. And yet, would he be able to keep it together? Because he doesn't have a dream for world dominion.
Well, that's the thing, though. Don't you think that he wants to have a purpose? Everyone wants to have a purpose. You had said earlier, like a few TikToks ago, that
for lack of vision, my people perish. Big or small, everybody's got to have a dream or you're just walking aimlessly.
So doesn't Guts need a vision?
Everyone needs a vision. Everyone needs a purpose.
But Guts doesn't have one. He doesn't believe he has one.
Well,
he's explicitly stated it at the campfire.
Yes, I know. That's really true. And you could say that he just has been running his life moment to moment. I've got to have a sword fight to stay alive here. I'm going to join this group because they cook good bacon.
Meaningless.
He's just aimlessly going forward. He has potential for greatness.
But that's why I think that he's trying to find a definite aim. I don't think he wants to walk through life purposeless. I think that he's come from a set of circumstances that are...
But the question is, has he been able to articulate that statement in his own mind? I'm looking for something. I don't know that he's there yet.
The only reason I disagree is the Campfire of Dreams. I have to bring it back to that. Oh. Everything he told Casca was, I mean, in layman's terms, you and Griffith have a dream.
Yes.
Griffith has explicitly told me his dream, and you have explicitly told me yours. Dream. I find you both to be way more admirable than me, so I need to leave here and find my own way. I will no longer just stand idly by and live in the shadow of someone else's dream.
Right.
That, to me, says that he's insightfully thought in his head and articulated, hey, this is not something that I want to do. I've just woken up to the fact that for my entire life, I've been living for men who mean nothing to me. Yep. And now I want to consider this man an equal and a friend. But this man just explicitly stated that no one under his guard, is a best friend to him because they're not his equal. They don't have a dream of their own. Right. You can't live in my shadow and be my best friend because then I can't acknowledge you. We're not equals. Now, I think Griffith believes that Guts' dream is to just go around swinging that sword. I think in Griffith's head, Guts' dream is right in front of him and he doesn't see it. So I do believe that Griffith thinks that him and Guts are friends. I don't think he said that to say that Guts isn't his equal. Right. I personally don't. Some people disagree with me. But I feel like Guts took it as, he doesn't see me as his equal. What am I going to do? I want to be acknowledged by him. And for the first time in my life, I just realized that how could I be his equal? I'm just in his shadow.
Right. Okay. I acknowledge what you're saying. I think you could be right. And I'm going to say something that's a bit of hair splitting, but I'm going to concede something. Guts may still not know what his dream is, but he knows this isn't it. I think he's at that point in his life where he says, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I don't know that he could articulate in words what he wants to do yet.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think that he is going out with some grand, like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a sailor.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I think. I think he's like, I mean, I know I've been there in my life where I'm like, what do I want to do? You said that if you go up to any random person on the street and you're like, what's your dream? They'd be like, to go to work, make money, go home.
And if you went up to anybody in the street and say, hey, what's the goals you have? What are your dreams? Most of them would say, oh, I don't know, just to go to work tomorrow. Guts might think that's his life. Guts just hasn't realized who he is yet.
Which is like, that's not your dream.
No.
Like, what are you called to do? What is like waning on you? And you'd think that everyone would just know, that it would just be inherent. And then there's people where it is just right in front of their eyes. They see it and they know it, and they're able to have such incredible resolve. And then there's other people, which I guess I fall under that category, or I did, where I had no idea what I wanted to do. There were so many options. There were so many things. What really captured my heart and my attention? A million things. Like, sometimes you have to pinch around and try some things out before you figure it out. So I think that if Guts does end up leaving, it's going to be to pinch around, figure things out. And where does he want to go? What does he want to do? Does he like to cook? Does he like to sail? Does he really just like to swing his sword? Who knows?
Yes. We could have a little discussion, a mini discussion right now. There's something like 10 or 11 more books to go. Where do you think he's going to be at the end of it?
I have no idea.
No idea?
No. He seems to be lonely right now, or in the first 3.
I see him as a Jack Reacher character. We've discussed Jack Reacher before. And Jack Reacher just travels from town to town and helps people in need. That kind of a story has been done a million times. So we could be at the end of these books in some months and find out that Guts is just leaving another group to go find himself and still hasn't found himself.
I hope not.
I hope not too, because he's a man destined for greatness if he chooses to. Have a lot of baggage to let go of, but he could be a great leader of men. Whether he's wanted to or not, he's already leading 100 men under him, like Casca?
Yeah.
And he could run all of them. But he's not a good leader, not yet. Because what does he do? The first thing he does is run away from his men to attack whoever. Yeah, that's just not the leader type. It's the lone wolf type. So it's a great books. And if you folks haven't read it, I really recommend start with book 1 and catch up to us. And if you have read it, hopefully just by discussing this, it's triggering your minds to think more about the books than maybe you thought before. That would be great. And tell us your thoughts. Follow, like, and subscribe. Yes, please, because this is YouTube now. Follow, like, and subscribe. And share.